Yesterday, we separated the tools after the glue up. I chunked up this glue joint a little bit, but have patched it in. I may have to glaze this a little bit more. I kind of focused on just getting this general area fixed, but I think like for here, for example, I feel like it was a little bit low here compared to here, so it's possible there may need to be some blending in this area. I'll see once I sand it a little bit more. And then remember, so I masked off the areas I don't want to burn through, right? So like that little sharp edge that we're trying to maintain, that is critical. I mean, that's kind of makes it to where we either need to paint or not paint the leading edge after it comes out of the tool. I masked that off. I'm barely on it right there, but I am covering it. Mask that off so I don't hit it with paper until I'm ready to like fine tune that. And then also this back corner, I don't want to knock any epoxy off and burn back down to the tooling board here. I did sand the perimeter. I know it doesn't look all perfect because I just kind of roll that and leave it thick on there. And in the first stages, I would sand the flange first, but right now I'm going to leave the flange for last because I just, it may not make a difference, but I'm thinking once I sand all this out, when I do sand the flange, at least I get that last little flat block on there that might crisp this corner up if it starts to get dumbed down a little bit. And then this little area right here, you can kind of see the outline here where I sanded. That was that extra layer of epoxy. If you're following along, early on, I did some spot repairs with some epoxy since I was just standing around looking at it, and then it was actually the wrong thing to do. I would, if I can remember, I will not do any epoxy repairs or anything until I at least get one coat of resin on the tool. That way everything sands evenly. If you don't, hard to sand evenly when you got a hard spot and a bunch of soft spots around it. So hopefully I'll remember that next time, right? Let's see. Also, one thing to remember is right now, even though I think we're on the third coat, I want to say we're on the third coat. I'll have to see, I don't remember. I think we're on the third coat on this tool of epoxy, but we only have one coat here because we had just removed that ridge. Yeah, this may only be the second coat. I think we did one coat and then I sanded it out and everything looked really good. So I removed the ridge here and then we closed the tools up. So this is two coats in here, but there's only one coat right here where that ridge was. So we got a little ways to go. I'll sand today and put another coat on and we'll see where we're at. But it's likely I'll do 2 more coats. I did sand this area a bit just now, and I am using a stick block. It's a soft block crosshatch pattern. And if I just take like a hand pad always and just keep hitting this with, even though it's only 600, I'll end up like creating an irregular surface and it won't be crisp and flat. And so it's still best to use a block, even though it's pretty nice. I just want to keep that surface maintained. So once I get done with the block across here in both directions, sometimes I'll take a pad and I'll go this direction just to kind of blend it all together. Then I'll take the vacuum and I'll vacuum up all the dust, and then I'll take like one of these towels and it's slightly damp and I'll wipe all the surface off, and sometimes I can look across it and I just can't, I'm unable to get the surface for you guys to see how smooth it is. It's like, I can see it myself, but I can't get the camera to focus on it very well. So we're gonna have to just wait until I get the finished part out of the tool, I think. Yeah, that's annoying. This is a flexible block. It's really the only tool that makes sense for sanding inside of these molds, because the shape is just changing so constant. I wish I had maybe a smaller diameter one. I'm sure I have something around here that would suffice for that, but for now I'm using this. And if you've ever used one of these, you'll know that they kind of don't stay straight. They always have some slight bend to them. This is cut down. I think they come like 12 inches long. I think they're the size of like a standard piece of sandpaper, a sheet of paper. But I don't use them that way. I cut them down so I can wrap them with like a 6-inch DA paper most of the time. Or I use stick it and wrap that around it. But I've been putting this label block, I've been putting that up whenever I'm sticking the paper to it, because when I sight down this, it actually has a slight bend, or it's, you know, has a bow in it where, you know, it's kind of crowned over here. It's very slight, but I don't want to use this side where it's going to be sanding here and nothing in the middle. So I kind of got to know the block, right? And I'm picking the best side to stick the paper to all the time. And so when I stick paper to this, I just take it and put the block label up. Kind of stick that like that. My orange handled scissors are for sandpaper around here. Keeps my good scissors sharper. So anyway, there's a block, and that's a consistent block. As long as I put that up every time, I get the same results when I'm over there sanding. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to capture this on video, but I wanted to try to show you what I do when I'm trying to clean up a surface. I mentioned this before, that there was an extra coat of epoxy in here, and it's kind of never gone away. I've been hitting it, but until today, I've got it pretty close everywhere, but it still has a little bit of an edge here, and I can feel it slight bit. The problem with the tool is, like, I cannot get my eyes low enough. I can't get the angle enough to where I can actually get a reflection on this area, but I can tell by feeling it that it's not right. And so when I start sanding with this, I want to have a very light touch. And I kind of have picked that up from watching, you know, I have a couple of friends that are like legends at like stick blocking and like making car panels flat, things like that. And so whenever I'm around them, I just try to, you know, sponge and learn everything I can. But you know, I watch them block, and it's like it's almost like they're not working, right? And when I'm blocking, I'm like, well, not anymore, but you know, oftentimes I'm like wanting to lay into that thing because I want it sanded right now. But what happens is, especially with this flexible block, if I'm just like pushing really hard, all I'm doing is kind of just following the surface. I'm making the block conform to the surface, so I'm just sanding evenly everywhere, where I really want to keep the block straight and barely put any pressure on the block. And even, I don't know if right there, if you can see this starting to come up, but it'll actually knock off that high spot. You can maybe see that high spot's still there, and there's a little bit of an area around it that's not getting touched. If I put more pressure, it's going to force the paper down into that spot, and I would not be able to see that difference there. So I just kind of hit it once at a 45. I'm coming in this way, and I'm not putting a lot of pressure, and right now I can see this starting to stand out, and I've got a little bit of a low area around it. I'm also rolling the block a slight bit to get into the sharp paper. You want to keep your paper sharp. And you can see it's starting to go away now. But if I was putting a lot of pressure on this block, it wouldn't be going away. It would smooth out, but it would still be kind of dumbed down, and it would just be kind of a blah surface. It wouldn't be crisp and flat. So it comes down to, like, it just takes a matter of time, a matter of strokes of sanding to get that knocked down. And so pushing harder doesn't necessarily, it doesn't help at all. It's just a matter of letting the sandpaper do the work and wait until it's done, essentially. So we're pretty close here. And then, you know, we only have a couple coats of epoxy on here, so if I keep sanding and sanding, it's gonna get thin and all that. So I'm gonna just leave it the way it is here. I will come in by hand and get up here because this block doesn't fit right up in there, and I can see there's a little bit of an area there, but that's just something I wanted to kind of talk about, because if I'm not thinking, I'll just be just laying into this thing, and next thing you know, I mean, it's just not, it won't look so clean. So I have this tool, this is the upper. I have this finished as far as sanding in the field here, and I'm gonna unmask it and go around the perimeter of the field and be careful to not mess this surface up, this corner. I'm sanding with 600 and 800 at this point. All of the big stuff and the heavier sanding was finished earlier on. This was all stick block with 600, and then I go over the top of it with 800. The edges here, I will only use 800. And then I'll probably use 800 on this flat flange as well, possibly 6, I'll just have to see. So I got this one completely sanded. It is a second coat of epoxy. And remember, right in here when we knocked this flange down, we only have one coat of epoxy over that. This mold looks really good though everywhere. I'm happy with it. I want to put one more coat everywhere, and that'll be it for this one. That one over there also has 2 coats, but I sanded through a bit working this area yesterday, so it's only got kind of one coat here essentially. I mean, there is 2, but it's been compromised a bit. I ended up using 600 grit on this flange because it did have that original sealer coat where the ridge was. So I just wanted to, I don't want to use too fine of a paper. On here, I'll go ahead and sand this one out, and we'll see how those turn out. If those are still, if they need a little bit more work or something today, then I'll probably have to do this twice over more. If it turns out and it looks real nice, I'll just do one more coat on this as well, and then I'll sand from there with 800 and at least 1,000, but I'll likely go up to 1,500 or 2,000 on these and then wax them up. Just want to do a quick video of this coat of resin on here. This is the 3rd coat. You can see I've been leaving it heavy on the sides of the tool. I'm just rolling it on, nothing fancy. I'm sanding in between. See, it's a bunch of orange peel or whatnot. See, it's heavy, it's almost running. And then on the top surface, still can't get a good reflection off of this thing. but I thought if I turn the lights down, you'd be able to see how little resin I'm leaving on it. Pretty much wiping it dry, especially at this point, I'd like to go straight to 800 grit, possibly even 1,000, and sand this up and get it ready for wax. I don't know that I'll be polishing this, but I'll try a spot and see how it goes. But it gets sanded to about 2,000 grit. Have the lower tool over here. Very hard to get down and see what's going on with this. I know someone was asking about the shape of it, and you can see it definitely raises up quite a bit there on the end. That's basically the anhedral. I'll get low and you can see how it kind of sticks up. But when it comes off the flange, it dips down first because there's a leading edge there. So anyway, that's the lower tool. I don't know if I can get away with calling it good on this. Tomorrow when I kind of sand at it a little bit, I'll try, but I kind of had to do a fair amount of sanding in these joints. And so I kind of got back down to the foam, but to the foam, but technically most of that is filled with resin still. I didn't go that deep. And then the edges, I leave real wet, heavy and wet. So this is just put on, it's not cured. And that's how it looks. I'm using a lint-free microfiber and wiping it pretty well dry. And there's zero lint in it at all. It's nice and clean. So we'll just kind of looking at something over there at that joint. It looks a little wavy, but we'll run it. This is not really a production model. You know, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, you know, what if this thing did fly super good? It might be a really fun model to have, right? So it'd be nice to make some of these if it was a winner, but this is supposed to not be production mold. This is just a test bed so we can learn more before I make the large one. All right, well, hopefully tomorrow is the final sanding and then I can wax. And I'll probably do 5 coats of wax on these tools. Thought I'd get one more video. I walked around the back of these and looking pretty good. You can finally start to see the shape of these. I don't know how well it's coming across in on the phone or in the video here, but so tomorrow I'll sand them up, and if everything looks good, I'll start waxing it. And when the wax is done, it'll probably be even more cool to look at because it should shine quite a bit more than this. Pretty cool.